Okay, so hello everyone. This is Séverine from Metal Express Radio, and today I'm with Steve Blaze. And as a reminder for our listeners, is the lead guitarist and original member of Lillian Axe from New Orleans. And since 1989, the band has released 8 studio albums, and the next one, From Womb to Tomb, will be out on August 19th. So first question, how are you today, Steve? And how do you feel with the imminent release of this long-awaited album?
Well, Séverine, it's nice to see you. And thank you for having me on. I am very excited, actually. This is our 15th total release. And actually, it's our 10th studio album. So I feel like I've been around forever. But, we've it's been a great, successful long career, and we're thrilled about this new record. A lot of times every band that has a new record feels like this is their best thing they've ever come up with, but I really mean it. You know what I'm saying? I really feel like we have created the best thing that we've ever done, and hopefully everybody that is an artist feels that about their most recent creation, because you get better, you learn more, you have more life experiences and whatnot. But we are really happy, especially about the reaction that we've gotten so far, because when you have a long history and you have a lot of catalog, a lot of material, a lot of people get attached, especially to earlier records when they first met you, when their lives were simpler, and it's an emotional bond there, right? So, sometimes when a band evolves, you run into obstacles. You want to make sure everybody, you still appeal to the people that like that, but still continue to grow and be more creative. So far the response has been overwhelmingly good. So I just can't wait for it to come out and everybody gets to hear the whole thing.
Yeah, that's a great news, especially maybe you're getting tired of the question, but the world of music and culture had been disrupted, let's say, this last years. So how did you deal with the pandemic, and how has it affected you and the band?
Well, obviously the touring and playing had to be minimized a bit, but we just kept busy. Brent, our singer, and I did a lot of acoustic shows, like live shows, where we would go and play on the internet for our fans and do acoustic versions of songs. We kept them going, and we kept recording the album. So, we were all healthy. We made sure everybody stayed healthy, but we continued to just make sure that this record was going to get finished. Okay. And it'll try to take our time and sit back and not be preoccupied or distracted by other things. So, fortunately, it gave us the opportunity to be able to put our emphasis and focus on getting the album done. So, yeah, we don't slow down at all. Pandemic from getting this thing finished.
Okay. Well, another big news for the band is the upcoming tour in the United Kingdom, starting next week, if I'm not wrong, in Wolverhampton. Yeah. So how do you feel about playing live after so long?
I think it's going to be amazing. I mean, the good thing is we've been able to, after the pandemic lightened up, we've been able to go out and do some shows and some festivals, but it's all over here in the States. So now we're getting to come to the UK for the first time to tour the UK in many years. We went to the UK about 10 years ago, but it was just to do one show. So now we're getting to tour the whole UK, and we're ecstatic about it. It's 7 days in a row. So we will have no opportunity to do anything else other than play. We won't get to do any sightseeing or whatnot, but we're excited about that. And hopefully we'll get the opportunity later on to come over and do the rest of Europe as well.
Okay, that's great news as well, because I'm hoping you will come to Paris soon.
Oh, we
So, since it's the first UK tour in 29 years, the fans have been waiting for quite a while. And what can they expect from the set list, and how did you choose what you're going to play?
Well, obviously, it's difficult to pick a set list when you have so much to pick from. Yeah. So But, you know, there are certain songs that always need to be in the set. The ones that got the most attention, that kind of, you know, you can tell, like, when we ask fans, what do you want us to play? I'm not kidding you. There's not a song that isn't mentioned by somebody, which is a good. But there's certain songs, you know, the ones that were on radio or had videos or, you know, the most recognizable right off the bat. Those are the ones that we, you know, try hard to keep them in the set. If we played everything we wanted to play, it'd be, you know, a full 24-hour set. But we also throw in some of the deeper cuts too, the ones that people aren't expecting. On this one, we're going to be playing songs from every record.
Okay.
Pretty much. A couple of new ones from the new record, but a lot from Poetic Justice in the first album, Love and War, Psycho, Waters Rising, Days Before Tomorrow, a little bit of everything. We kind of lean heavy on Love and War album. I think that's the one that has like 5 songs off Love and War. So, but, you know, we do our best to make everybody happy, you know, and, you know, we have the opportunity to kind of add and subtract some songs here and there, you know. We know plenty of them. So in some places, if somebody requests something, we'll throw that in instead. But it's a tough chore. I'm not going to lie to you, because there are a lot of songs we want to play. But if we play that and we don't play Misery Loves Company or True Believer or All's Fair in Love and War, somebody will be very, very highly upset with us. And we don't want to incur the wrath of our fans. So.
Yeah. And is there any particular song that you really want to play and you really look forward to?
You know, you know, there's a few of them that I think are kind of uniquely special, and probably Ghost of Winter is one of them off the War album. That may be one that seems to have been like, I guess if you had to take what do you call it? A poll of people's favorite songs. Ghost of Winter would probably be the number one all-around song that is at the top of the list. And it's kind of a little cross between everything that the band's about. It's got the ballady, unusual, mysterious parts. It's got the big, heavy parts, the solos, the melodies, the harmonies. Kind of like a little bit of a cross section of all the different characteristics of the band. So, and I think that's one reason why it's always been at the top of people's favorite songs list.
Okay. And since in 2002 you released an Acoustic Live, One Night in the Temple, are you going to play some acoustic song during the sets, or just leaving the acoustic guitars aside?
We're doing One Night in the Temple was the whole band playing live acoustic, and that was a unique type of situation. Mm-hmm. But during the live show, I mean, we do shows where we play all acoustic, mm-hmm. but when we do our full-on show, we sometimes we do that. On this one, we're not. We're keeping it all heavy. We are going to do one ballad on this one where we break it down and play. It's a brand new song called No Problem. It's on the new album. So that we're going to do. We're going to do that off, you know, in this set. But no, we're keeping it pretty much high energy. Of course, we'll do Ghost of Winter, World Stop Turning. Nobody knows, but songs that are not acoustic all the way through. But want to keep it moving and grooving the whole time.
Okay. Yeah, people need that after 2 years of lockdown, I think.
Yeah.
So, back to the new album now. The From Womb to Tomb was announced in 2018 and is finally released this year. So what were the inspirations for the album and how did you work on this?
Well, this album is a little bit uniquely different. I've always had the idea of how I wanted to do this record. It's kind of a conceptual album, I guess. Not in the way of most concept records are about specific events and what happened in that event, right? This is more like the timeline of an individual's life based around my life. So it starts off from womb first song is called Breathe. And it's about the birth of the child, the inception of the child. It goes from nothingness to a soul, to an existing soul that will live for eternity. So it goes all through life in chronological order, all the lessons and awarenesses and understandings that we all go throughout the course of our life, from being a child to teenage years to adult to middle age to end of our lives, and then ascension of our souls into heaven at the end. So each song is about that particular part of our lives in the chronological order that I went through them. So we all have different paths and different routes and different experience in our life, but I think all of these lessons and comprehensions are all the same for us. We all at some time in our lives learn about love. We all at some times in our lives learn about death and evil and awareness of watching man screw himself up all the time. And then that one time in our lives, later in our lives, where we find that peace and clarity, and then we pass and we move on to the next place. And those are all tackled in each one of these songs. They're addressed in every one of these songs. And it's very spiritual, emotional, but really honest and true and uplifting album. I mean, you know, there are songs that sound on the outside like they're, wow, it's kind of depressing, maybe like The Fall of the Human Condition and The Great Deception. But they're not. They just recognize that, I mean, God gave us a beautiful planet. We have a great earth. We have great gifts given us every day. And mankind just keeps on screwing them up, you know, and it's on us. It's on us to learn how to treat each other better and to be better towards our planet and towards each other. And I recognize those things and I sing about them or write about them. And then at the same token, I also write about overcoming them and being strong to overcome them, that we have the power to get through these bad things and to fight against evil and to be victorious in the end. So it's an uplifting message as well. So that's how we did it. And we recorded it like that. We recorded the first song first, the next song next, and we recorded it in the order that these songs are on the album. So every time we went in, we concentrated on one song at a time, and we just completely dove into it, and we didn't stop until it was completed and we were completely happy with it. So it's a little unusual because most bands don't record like that, but it's always worked for us. We've been doing it like that for many years. So that's how we approach this.
Okay. And you also said about the album that people should listen to it from start to finish in solitude with no distraction, as if you're reading a book or watching a movie. So this comparison is with different medium is kind of intriguing. So have you been inspired by books or films during the composition of the album?
I wish I had time to read more. I really do.
Like everyone.
Yeah, I don't have to do it. I love movies. I mean, I'm a movie fanatic. And I think what intrigues me about movies so much is the visual and the music, the soundtrack. I love soundtracks. I love the ability to have them work hand in hand for the emotional response. You know, so what we do is we try to create a visual. And I've had many people tell me this album is very visual. When I'm listening to it, I see things. It's in my mind. People are hearing the songs and they're having visual, like watching a movie in their head. And I think that's very important to make sure that lyrics and the music work hand in hand. So I'm very inspired by creating entire pieces. Like I don't think I've ever really put a record out there that I wanted it to be just looked at as a bunch of singular songs. I want it more like a novel, that the chapters work together. Sure, you could skip around in the chapters, but you wouldn't have the same effect. You could skip around in a movie and watch the middle and then go back to being, but it won't make as much sense and you won't be able to feel it. When you listen to this record and it flows, there are interludes and things that take it from one emotion to the next, and constant building and ups and downs and changes. And if you can sit there and listen to it without being distracted, it's a religious, emotional experience. I mean, of course you can go, I'm going to flip over to the song. I like that. I even do that. Like I'm in the mood to hear, Feelings of Absence. So I'll pop that on. But for somebody that really wants to get the full emotional impact of the record, it's a great thing to just sit, relax, and listen from start to finish.
Yeah, so the album is very personal project for you. How did you present it to your bandmates, and what was the contribution to the album?
Well, the great thing about not only having great bandmates, playing wise and musically talent wise, but we're similar in our mentality. We're similar people, similar hearts and souls. Have a very wonderful team around me. I mean, these guys, my bandmates and crew, we would be friends if we weren't in a band together. There'd be people I'd hang out with, if I wasn't playing music with them. So that's a blessing right there. So all of these same things, when we're together, we're constantly talking. We know each other. I know how they feel, and I take that into consideration. What I do is, and I'm very, very solo kind of writer. I write the songs in my head most of the time. I sing them in my recorder. I don't have to have an instrument to write. I hear everything at one time. So I'm always recording the ideas, and then I go demo them. And I before I send them to the band, I have them arranged in the best format. I have them completely finished before I send them to them, at least as far as I can go with it right now to get the idea. Then I send the idea out to them, and then they give me feedback. Then we get into the studio. We're well prepared before we go in. The demos that I do they're loosely recorded. They're tightly arranged, but I put basic drum beats on there just for the drummer to know, for Wayne to know exactly, what goes where, what cadence, etc. But I tell them, do your thing. I want your interpretation of it. Same thing with all the other guys. But it's very well structured and well prepared before we get into the studio. So then when we get in there and we just start experimenting with things, and when we can hear everything up on the speakers and we start going, maybe why don't we put a cello right there? Let's put another guitar piece here. You start to get things in perspective. And then we just keep on, we record, then we get everything together, then we listen to it. We go back in, we add, we subtract, we change. And while we're recording new tracks, we're still listening to the older ones, so we can absorb them. So we can go back, we're 6 months, a year later, we go back to the original track that we've been listening to for years, that we've all decided, hey, we want to change this right here, or we want to, add this to it. And it gives us the opportunity to not have to do it fast and give it to the record company. And then, oh man, I wish we had done that. I wish we had changed something here or there. We have enough time to live with it. So when it's all completed, we're pretty much 100% certain that this is the absolute best performance that we can do on this song.
Okay. And you just mentioned that there are cello on some of the tunes. Do you play cello, or did you invite other musicians on the album to play, I would say, this unexpected instruments on a hard rock and metal album?
Well, let me tell you about this album. In addition to the band, we have heartbeats, timpani, cello, B3, grand piano, strings, maggots, flies, dragons, bat wings, thunder, lightning, woolly mammoths, choirs, and that's just besides the band. There's so much soundscape stuff that we brought in to add on, and it all works. it's wonderful to be able to hear these other instruments. Now, I played keyboards on most of the stuff, but there are some tracks, 3 tracks, Migrating North, From the Mountaintops, and Ascension, that we brought in a gentleman named TK, who is a phenomenal keyboard player, great pianist. And he's somebody that we all know. And he works with the studio a lot. And so he was there, and he and I met, and I wanted to see how he would relate in interpreting the songs, because I'm okay on keyboards. I can get through, I can do pads, etc. But this guy's amazing. So he can play the stuff that I write that I can't play. So we talked to him, and we came up with some different types of arrangements, different melodies, different counterparts, and he just knocked it out of the park. So usually we don't bring in outside people, but we did on this, and he just blew us away. So we're very happy with that.
Is it something that's on your mind, playing this album live with an orchestra, or maybe too wild? I don't know.
It's a great idea. We've talked about it for years. And to be honest with you, this album would be great with a choir and an orchestra behind it. Yeah. We've even talked about maybe making a movie out of it. One step at a time, we'll see what happens. But I think performing this album with an orchestra would be amazing. I really do.
Yeah. And I also have a question about the artwork. Who's the artist of the artwork? And it's this sort of tree, black and white, of rotten tree and tree which is alive. What did you want to express with this artwork?
Well, the guy that did the artwork is Todd Schmidt. He also did our new video. And Todd is not only one of my best friends, but he's an amazing and well-respected videographer, photographer, director. He's got his hands in everything. He and I, everything that I work on, all of my projects relating to the band and other things, he's involved with me on. And I like the idea of having, this flourishing tree, and then the inversion of that is the dead tree. So from womb to tomb. And Todd just knocked it out of the park. I always wanted, pretty much what I brought to the table is wanting to keep it simple, black and white. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted that contrast. He came up with all the fonts, the Gothic fonts on the lettering, on all the lyrics, and all the trees and the birds and the whole concept of the artwork. He did all the artwork on that. It was amazing what he did. And that's what we wanted to capture, the harsh reality of light and dark, So it's not, we're going from womb to tomb. It's kind of in some ways almost contradictory, because life is all about colors and beauty and whatnot. And here we have this stark, just blatant contradiction, black and white. What's more simple than that? Good and evil, black and white, womb to tomb, So we actually had the cover done probably 5 years ago. So we knew what the cover before we started recording anything. So, but yeah, that was the genius Todd Schmidt.
Okay, thanks. So it's really great news for the fans to have From Womb to Tomb released. But I also wonder, in 2017, you announced that another album was soon to be released. And what happened to the Forgotten Art of Melancholy?
Okay, well, that was going to be an album that was going to be all ballads from all of our records, right? So started to work on that, and then realized kind of, first off, it was going to be very, very difficult to have to go and deal with the couple of past record companies that still had, Universal still owns the first 2 albums. And I didn't feel like fighting the battle for that. So what we did when we signed our new deal, the new label took care of that. So we put out an anthology record called Psalms for Eternity. And if you notice, the third CD on there is what I wanted to do with Melancholy. It's all ballads. One from each of the albums is on there. So that's how I was able to kind of finally get that out. I wanted people to have one CD that was just one ballad from each record. So they would get in that mindset and have this peaceful, spiritually beautiful CD from one ballad into the other all the way through. So that's how I was able to finally get that.
Yeah, so because the title is really intriguing and interesting. So that was something to me that it didn't come out before.
I was thinking about doing a song called The Forgotten Art of Melancholy. So you may see that in the future.
Okay. So there's something obviously really spiritual and personal and emotional in your music. And I was wondering, how do you include all these elements while you compose? And which can seem maybe a bit paradoxical with the fact that it's hard rock and metal album.
Very true. Music of any sort, whether it's jazz, country, hard rock, death metal, whatever, it's all spiritual. It all comes from whoever created it, whoever's playing it, whoever's performing it. It's all from our heart. It's just different ways of expressing it. It's like food. I always go back to food analogies. There's millions of different types of food, right? You can enjoy all of it. I always, people ask, like, what are my influences? And I say, everything I've ever seen, smelled, touched, or felt is an influence. It's all in my blender up here. And everything that I listen to or I see, I get a lot of inspiration just from things that I see. It could be walk out and look at the sun and I get inspired by it. So all these things are just jammed up in my head, and it's like a blender turned on. It's always just mixing everything up. So every little thing I've ever done has something to do with how I express myself. And I think we all do that. But I don't, like I said before, I don't have it's not like I can really pinpoint how do I write, what inspires me, because everything inspires me. I think I write about things that move the soul, that make people feel inside that uplifting. Sometimes it can be just something surface level. In the early days, back when we first started, I did write songs about girls and relationships and things of that nature, because those were things in my life that were like, I was learning about relationships and stuff like that. So I wrote about that. I was in a rock band traveling all over the world. There were a lot of girls around. I'd make comments about things, about people I would see and their personalities and the contradictions and how people would act and stuff like that. As I get older and have more life experiences, there are other things that I want to be able to relate to people about, like, what it's like to have a child, what it's like to have a kid and love your child, what it's like to lose a parent, what it's like to lose somebody to, the older you get, the more people die in your scope of things, unfortunately. And that's the toughest thing for people to deal with. Well, I write about that more now because I've experienced it more now. So it's all things that are spiritual, because I think that's what moves me when I play music. Every time I hear a song or something, I think people are moved spiritually and emotionally in some path. One way, there can be happiness, it can be a quick laugh, it can be sadness, it can be peace or whatever, but that's the beauty of music. So I take it very seriously when I write a song. I want that emotion that I'm thinking about when I write the song to really let the music take that message and force it deeper into your soul. That's one of the reasons why I do lyrics last. I may come up with the idea and or maybe a title or a couple of lines, but the ideas of the songs pretty much are formulated as I write them. Like, I hear it all together. I might not know the exact words because I want the music to kind of pull those words out of me. And they do. I mean, I know, let's say I want to write a song about, about the introduction of evil to a kid's life. I know what I'm picturing and how I visualize it in my head. And I know the music. I write the music to fit that mood. And as I'm writing the music and as I'm recording it and it's starting to take shape, then I start hearing the lyrics and all the ideas come out lyrically at the time. So it's all like just all there. And I just have to spit it out a little at a time, but it all kind of forms itself in my head. And then it comes out and it's usually it's precise to what I'm trying to do. I don't have to fight to write. You know what I'm saying? It all just kind of it's like I said, I always call it a blender. It's like all this stuff goes in there and I chop it up and here we go, pour it into the cup. There you go. That's the song right there. So that's kind of how I approach it. But you're right about that. It's all very, very spiritual and emotional. And when, for me, and I'm sure it is for most songwriters, to create something like that 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 a lot of people are going to hear from now till eternity.
So we were talking about your new album, and I'd like to ask a question about the last one, The Days Before Tomorrow, which is the album I discovered Lillian Axe with this album on a sampler CD someday, and while I was going back to all the discography, all the albums are all extremely different. So since this album, how do you think that your music has evolved for the new album?
That is a good point. And I always like to look at the history of other bands that have been around long periods of time. Everybody from, the great bands, Queen, Aerosmith, Led Zeppelin. You start looking at their Pink Floyd, looking at their discographies, and a lot of them changed immensely. Alice Cooper, there are a few that stayed similar throughout their whole careers, but the ones that really evolved and grew are the ones that I guess I migrate to more. And the cool part about it is people will hear our stuff now, 30 something years later, and they'll say, yep, that sounds like Lillian Axe. And I'm like, what's really makes a band identifiable is not the mixes or anything that you can really tangibly touch. It's the essence of the band, which is the melodies and the changes and the dynamics. Those are the things that are prevalent. Every one of our records, like you says, each one sounds uniquely different. The mixes sound different. The songs tend to be a little bit different, but they still have the Lillian Axe essence. And that's the importance. That's what makes bands have longevity and create their own unique thing, is being able to grow and do things, whatever comes naturally to them, and not have to be thinking about it. I don't think about, if I'm writing a song, is it going to be like this or that? Is it going to be a ballad? Is it going to be heavy? Is it going to be this? Is it going to be okay for radio? Will people that like the first album like this? I don't think like that. I write songs. That's it. The band records songs, we write songs, and we play them and we record them and we arrange them and we interpret them, whatever we naturally feel. So I like the idea that we're a little bit unpredictable, but it's not anything that's done cognizantly. I mean, we actually just go do our thing. And the fact that no two songs sound alike is great. I love when bands are like that. You never know what you're going to get. And as long as the quality is good, as long as you can tell the arrangements are good and the power and the passion is there and the melodies and all of the dynamics are what that band's about, go for it, And there's some people that just want the same old thing over and over and over and over again. Well, we can't do that. If you want the same thing over and over again, just listen to that album over and over again, because we are going to continue to create and evolve and change and just keep who we are still. I'm still writing the songs. So somewhere in every single song is some part of my twisted brain in there somewhere.
So there's obviously something that maybe I would call the human factor in every band. So the lineup of Lillian Axe has changed quite a lot since its beginning. And do you think that these changes has spurred this musical evolution?
You know, I don't really think so, because we were changing in the early days. I say changing. It's hard to really pinpoint, because we weren't really like trying to do anything. We were just, you grow and you evolve. That's it. That's great. That's a great thing. Nobody wants to go backwards, except in our age. But other than that, whenever we've had several different singers in the band, but I don't think about the song like, oh, can he sing this? Is this in his range or whatever? I just write the songs. Fortunately, we're always in bands. I've always had great vocalists in this band. And I guess when I'm writing subliminally, I may really hear their voice and their contribution vocally to the song. So probably as I'm writing the melodies, I'm hearing them in my head. But for the most part, I really don't think about it. I don't think about whether or not somebody's going to be able to play this or interpret this properly, because they're all fantastic. They're all great talents. So whoever's singing is they'll be fine. They'll be fine. You know, it's such a non-mechanical approach in writing and recording. It's all very much out of our feelings, etc. I'm sorry, guys.
It's fine. So I'm also curious, with such diverse songs and album, you probably have really eclectic tastes in music, and do you still listen to music the same way as when the band started?
No, now when I listen to songs, I'm always try to pick out the instrumentation and I listen to songs. I like great songs. I don't care if it's a country song, if it's a pop song, if it's a classical song, if it's a ballad, or I listen to songs, period. I listen to them differently now. When I first started listening to music, I was just listening to the song itself. Now, as I've done so many records, I'm thinking about how did they get this sound and the mix and that kind of stuff. And that's a hard thing to kind of like push to the side and just listen to the song. Don't worry about anything else. But, the mind works differently when the mechanical aspect pops in there now and then. And I'm like thinking, oh, that's good. How did they get this sound? How did they do that? That sounds good. Oh, that's a little flat. Oh, that note's wrong. I just have to sometimes just sit away and not be the musician and just listen to the song,
So what are you listening to these days? What's your new playlist?
Man, I've got
hundreds of songs.
I love soundtracks to movies. Soundtracks to movies. The latest stuff, if I pulled up my phone, was in the rock arena. It was Mastodon, Ghost. I love a band called Avatar.
Yeah, they're really good.
I love Avatar. Yeah. Mammoth, Wolfgang Van Halen's album, Monty. And then I'm listening to the Bee Gees and Bread and James Taylor and the soundtracks to Star Wars and Game of Thrones and Ed Sheeran and Brian Eno. Just everything that's great. Everything that I have one playlist that's all ballads. And then I think, what did I get the other day? New Def Leppard record. Michael Schenker. I love everything, even if it's something that I don't really, really like. I'm human being. I like some bands and earlier albums more than the most recent. Queen, for example, the first 7 or 8 Queen records, man, are just phenomenal. And later on, when they got a little poppier and stuff, I didn't like it as much as the early stuff. I still went out and bought it. I still supported them because they were one of my favorite bands. And even though they were changing a little bit here and there, I still listened to it. I think that's how fans should be. You support your bands and you listen and give it a chance. Nothing's going to be the exact same as it was, so that being said, I find myself constantly looking for something to knock me out. And that's hard to find these days. I always wind up going back and buying, stuff that I had. Nowadays, it really sucks because I have 5,000 CDs, but I got a new car and it doesn't even have a CD player in it. So now your phone is your CD player. So you got to go get all these in and download them onto your phone, I mean, give me a player, please,
Yeah. So my next question.
On the new album, buy these physical CD for the pictures and you'll have it to be safe. But download it onto your phone, go to iTunes and download it so you have it right there wherever you go.
What do you think of the state of the musical industry these days, especially regarding what you said about how people should listen to the next album?
Well, the industry is nothing like it used to be. So, I mean, it's just that would take me 10 hours to talk about the music industry. I miss where people work together. I miss where live venues work with promoters, work with radio TV stations and magazines and press, and everybody work together to support music. It's not like that anymore. I think on the whole, there needs to be a resurgence of appreciation for bands. I mean, everybody has a band and a record and you can see a million things. So it becomes, even though it's a great opportunity for people to see a lot of stuff, that's also clogs up the pipes sometimes. And there's so much out there that how do you stand out? So fortunately, the ones that stand out are the ones that keep doing it for years and years and years. But it makes it that much more difficult for younger bands starting out. How do you get noticed? And I say, you just keep playing and keep out there and keep in everybody's face and write great songs. That's how you do it. So labels these days basically don't even exist. They pick up bands that already have their records done, throw it out there and see what happens. In the old days, you had a record company that had a few artists. And even if they didn't break or do good, they stuck with those artists for albums and albums. They kept on pushing until usually they would get a break. And then all that, there was dedication to the acts. You don't see dedication anymore, It's hard. Even sometimes you see fans that are undedicated, like, you take a band like Aerosmith or Judas Priest, they put a new record out and automatically, it doesn't sound like this. And they rag it, and they're disrespectful towards it. You see it all the time. I like Ghost, the band Ghost, right? They're new album. Yeah, they're great. The new album's fantastic. Ted Jensen mastered that album. He mastered our album. Same guy mastered. They're fantastic, and it's probably the best written album they've done. But I see their fans all of a sudden, it doesn't sound like their first album, so they dog them all over the place. They disrespect them. I'm like, you can't do that. If you're a fan, open your mind up. People need to open their minds and be supportive. I mean, the rock community doesn't need to be dividing itself up. Death metal, pop rock, AOR rock, mainstream rock, glam rock, this and that. It's rock and roll, man. Appreciate it all. You can like everything. You can eat pizza and you can like ice cream too. It's okay. There's room for everything. So I think, overall, the industry is not ever going to be like it was before. So I just would like to see more support. I think there should be more radio shows. I think there should be another MTV video show that plays lots of stuff. There should be more support. And, but that's wishful thinking. Society changes, man changes. We just have to realize that if we want bands to keep touring and playing, we got to support them. We got to help them.
So what would be your final words? What do you want to say to the fans of Lillian Axe, or people who don't know the band but who might discover you?
If you don't know the band and you're just discovering us, it's your lucky day, because if you like the new album but you don't know any of the other stuff, think about it. You got 14 other releases you can go buy now. That's like wow, I hit the jackpot. I like this new band. Oh, they've got this. Now, it's not like a new band that only has one album out. You're like, oh, that's all I got from them. We have all this other catalog stuff that if you like this, you'll love that. And I just want to, there have been a lot of people that have been supporting us since way back with the first record. And that's highly appreciated by us. That's why we're still doing it. When a lot of bands don't put out new material, they, for different reasons, they're unable to go out there and keep doing this. We fight it hard, and we're going to keep on doing this till either I get my arms chopped off or I pass away. But we feel great about this new record. The new video's out for I Am Beyond as well. It comes out Friday the 19th, and we're just so happy with the response. I just hope that this record changes the world. I hope everybody loves it and appreciates it as much as we do.
Okay, so thank you very much for answering my questions, and we'll follow closely the release of the new album at Metal Express Radio. So this was Séverine and Steve Blaze from Lillian Axe, and thank you for listening to Metal Express Radio.
Thank you for having me, and you've got my email address. Stay in touch with me.